Yesterday we worked on the one sheet dealing with arcs, and we talked about a major and a minor arc and how we can make reference to those, and then we found some values of x on that worksheet. Right, the one that we want for today is the equation of circles worksheet. I gave it to you yesterday. Does everybody have one? Everybody got one. All right, we know an equation for a line. What's an equation for a line look like? Y equals mx plus b. That's one of them. Another one we've talked about is y minus y sub 1 is equal to m times x minus x sub 1. You've seen a little bit with that. You'll see a lot of that next year if you are into the pre-calc class or into your trig class. Another thing that we talked about was parabolas. What's a general equation for a parabola? Y or f of x. Yeah, we could write it as a function. F of x is equal to x squared would be one, because you have one of the variables being raised to the second power. The other one is to the first power. We talked about absolute value is y is equal to the absolute value of x. That graph's going to be the v. But what we want to get into today is circles. And if we look at circles, a general equation that they give you for a circle is going to look like this. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared. So that's the formula you want to know. If you need to write it down somewhere, I don't know if you have note cards that you're keeping all of this on, but that would be one that you would want to write down. Circle. If you go back to equation for a line, where do you have numbers? In y equals mx plus b. You would have a number right there for m. What does m stand for? Slope. And you would have a number in for the b. And what does b stand for? Y-intercept. When you get to the equation for a circle, y or x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared. You are going to have information they are going to give you, or that you should have within your things that don't change within a circle. You're going to have a given center and you're going to have a given radius. If you know those two things, you can create your circle. So the center of your circle is going to be hk, and then the radius is r. Now remember when we talked about a parabola, if I go back to my parabola and I say y is equal to x squared plus 2, what did that do to your u, your parabola? What did it do to it? Moved it up 2. If I were to write it this way, if I said y equals x plus 2, that quantity squared, now what did it do? Moves it to the left 2. It moves it the opposite of what you see right there, correct? The same thing's going to happen for a circle. It's going to move it the opposite of what you see, because it's not x plus that h value, it's x minus that h value. So does everybody have this part down? A general formula for a circle. Now we are going to use that to help us with this worksheet, where the first thing they're going to ask you to do. I don't know why I have to click that. Okay, number one says identify the center and the radius of each, then sketch the graph. So the first one, you have this equation, x minus 1 squared plus y minus, or y plus 3, sorry, squared is equal to 4. So the first piece of information they went down is, what is the center of the circle? So I have to answer that. What is the center of the circle? 1, -3. It's the opposite of what you see there, because it's x minus h, and h is your value. Y minus k. So this is thought of right here as y minus -3. That gives you the +3. So your center of your circle is 1, -3. What is the radius equal to? 2. Because remember in that formula it's equal to r squared. So this is the radius squared. You would have to take the square root of that. And the radius is equal to 2. See the connection between the formula you wrote down and that. Okay, the next thing they ask you to do is graph that. So the first thing you want to do is you want to find the center of your circle. So I go to 1, -3. There's the center of my circle. What's the radius? 2. The easiest thing to do is to take that center, go up 2, to the right 2, go down 2, go to the left 2, and then try to draw a nice
oh my God.
Try. You try drawing yours before you laugh at mine. Okay, good. Not as easy as it looks, is it? What do they say? Sometimes they say you're just supposed to put your pencil there and then, like, I don't know. You were supposed to, I don't know. Sometimes they say put it here and then, I don't know. Okay, that doesn't work. Do some type of a spin or something and it's supposed to get you to your circle, but I'll just go with, oh, and then I erased part of it. I'll just go with mine was fairly close to looking like a circle, and I don't know what yours look like, but already doesn't. There you go, got your circle. Ready for the next one, or can you do number 2? Circles aren't so bad if you know a little bit about the formula. So number 2 says x minus 2 squared plus y plus 1 squared equals 16. So what is the center? That's the first thing they want. The center of your circle is 2, -1. And what is the radius? The radius is 4. So find your center to graph it. So I go over 2, down 1. And then I'm going to have a radius of 4.
What if I'm just ready to do this?
That's better than mine.
That's pretty bad.
Try doing it fast. See what happens. The top is good. Yeah. The top. Oh, I know what to do. Just do half of it at a time.
Well, that's what I was trying, and I tried doing the top half, and then I thought, okay, I'll do the right half and the left half. Yeah, no, that doesn't work either. Maybe I need to do a quadrant at a time. All right. Move on to 3. Maybe you're done with 3, I don't know. So what is the center of the circle? 1, -4. It's the opposite of what you see associated in those parentheses. And your radius is 3. Remember, it's the square root because this is r squared. So you have to take the square root of it to find the radius. So your radius is 3. So 1, -4. radius of 3. Does anybody want to come up here and draw it up here for me? Not bad. Ready for the next? Are you on 4?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Is that just?
Then, okay, just a minute. What, you're trying to figure out that radical, aren't you? Yeah. Number 4 gives you x squared plus the quantity y minus 3 squared equals 14. So they want to know, what is the center? What is the center of the circle? 0, 3, because I don't have anything. There is no h value there. And the radius, I'm just going to put it as the square root of 14. What's it between? 3 and 4, because the square root of 16 is 4, right? So it's fairly close to that. So your center of your circle is 0, 3. And your radius is close to 4. I don't know. Some of you got it as a decimal. What is it as a decimal? 3.74. And so you got to go about 3 3/4. It always kind of peaks up for a second. Hey, did you get it? Get better at it? Oh no.
Your brain is just wanting to just.
Okay, the next thing that I need you to do is I need you to so because 5, 7, and 8 deal with completing the square, we'll skip those, but let's look at number 6. Number 6 says -9 is equal to -y squared minus x squared. What do you think you need to do with that equation? Flip it. Move things over. Multiply both sides by -1. Divide both sides by -1. Move everything over to the opposite sides, which is going to change the sign. So would you agree that x squared plus y squared equals 9 is an equivalent equation? Would you agree with that? Okay. So what is the center of your circle? It's the origin. What is the radius? The radius is 3. So we can graph our circle. I always have just one quadrant that really gets messed up. Okay, you have that?
Yes.
All right, I'm recording this, so for those that are gone, so I just want to state again, 5, 7, and 8, we will get to later. We will complete the square another day. All right, what we need to look at then is number 9. Number 9 says, use the information provided to write the equation of each circle. Okay, the center. The center of the circle is 13, negative 13. And the radius is 4. So remember that equation for a line. It's going to be x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So I look up and I know that 13 is h, negative 13 is k, and r is 4. So we put it into the equation. It's going to be x minus 13 squared plus y minus what value? Minus negative 13, which turns it into plus 13 squared equals what value? 16. And there's your equation for your circle. I'm pulling up a graph for number 10 for a reason here. Number 10 says, oh boy. Okay, so we have the center of your circle is negative 13, negative 16. And then it says that a point on the circle, they're not giving me the radius anymore. They're saying a point on the circle is negative 10, negative 16. I want to know what is the radius. I will give you 2 minutes to discuss it with your group, and figure out how do I find the radius. What would you do? Okay, where's the center of the circle? Yeah, just count. Or in this case, okay, so I got to scroll here. I think I only go 10. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Oh, I go after. I don't have enough going down. 8, 10. Don't have enough going down. So we're going to divide it in half, okay? So we have the center of the circle is negative 13, negative 16. So we have 2, I'm going by 2s, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 13. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, which is right here, right? And then negative 16. 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 16, right there. Right there's the center of our circle, right? But then I have a point that's on the circle, meaning the circumference of the circle. And where's that at? Negative 10, negative 16. So we go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Negative 10 is right here. And negative 16 is down here. So there's a point. What is the radius of the circle? No, 1.5. What did I let each one of those squares be? 3. Because remember, this point right here is negative 13, negative 16. And this point over here is negative 10, negative 16. So the distance between them is 3. So the radius is 3. So what's the equation for your circle? Whoops, not y. The equation for your radius of your, or the equation for your circle is x, then what? Plus 13, quantity squared, plus y plus 16 squared equals 9, because the radius is 3. And there's the equation for your circle. Question. Okay, number 11. Number 11, it says the ends of a diameter. The ends of the diameter are 18, negative 13, and 4, negative 3. Oh my goodness, now how are we going to do that? If those are ends of the diameter, what do you know? They're points, right? And if I can find the distance between them, if I split it in half, is going to be the radius. Can I just kind of roughly sketch this instead of drawing it on a graph? If I roughly sketch this, I just want to get some quadrants, right? Okay. So we have positive 18, negative 13. We're down here, right here. 18, negative 13. And then I have another one that is at 4, negative 3. I don't know, right there. So somewhere here exists a circle, right? Those are endpoints of the diameter. And Jacob said something. What did you say, Jacob? A squared plus b squared equals c squared. We are going to use Pythagorean theorem somehow. So what is going to be this x distance? 14, because I start at 4. This distance right here is 4. And I go over to 18, so this is 14. And what's the distance? What's the height of that? 10. Is it 5, 7, 12? 5, 12, 13. If you talk about a right triangle and you say 5, 7, 12. What's 12 squared? 144. 5 squared is 25. 7 squared is 49. If you add these two together, you don't get that. So that's not one of the Pythagorean triples that you have. 5, 12, 13 would work, and that doesn't work there. So you're just going to have to take your calculator, right? Take your calculator, and you're going to do 10 squared plus 14 squared, and then we're going to have to take the square root of that. 10 squared is 100 plus 14 squared, which is, that's not a 2, 96, 196. 13 squared is 169, 14 squared is 196, switch the 2. So we get the square root of 296. What's that? Oh wait, what do you got to do to that? We can simplify that. All right, to simplify that, I guess some of you used your calculators, but to simplify that, I can think about prime factorization. What goes into there? Does 4 go into 96? Yes, because 4 goes into 100 and it's 4 away from it. So how many times does 4 go into 296? 74 times. 74 is 2 and 37. 2 and 37 and 2 is prime. So if this splits into 4 and 74, how does this simplify? The square root of 296 is the same thing as 2 radical 74. Okay, what is that value right there? What did we find? We found this length right there, right? What is that length? That's the diameter of your circle. So what is the radius of the circle equal to? Half of that, divide by 2, and you get the square root of 74. If I want to come up with my equation for my circle, so far I have this. Why do I want to put the y first all the time? Probably because, so we want to go x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals what? The radius squared. What's the square root of 74 squared? 74. What do I need to find? The center of the circle. To find the center of the circle, right there, it's halfway between, right? What's finding halfway between two numbers also called? It's a midpoint, and it's also known as the
Average.
what's even touching? The average, which is the same thing as the mean. Not now, I don't. Okay, so I want to find the average, right? So to find this midpoint right here, I'm going to take 4 plus 18 and divide by 2. You're right, Isaiah said something about 7. The distance is 7, but it's 7 this way from 4. So you're going to add 7 to 4, or you're going to have to subtract 7 from 18, which either way gives you 11. Well, if I add these two together, I get 22 divided by 2, which is what? 11. So my center of my circle is 11. And then I have to do the same thing to the y values. So I go -3 plus -13 divided by 2, which gives you what? Negative. You add that together, you get 16 divided by 2, you get -8. Well, think about it. Half that 10 distance is 5. So I either want to go down 5 from -3, which gives you -8, or you go up 5 from 13, which gives you -8. Do you see that? I like to just take the average. So here's my center of my circle. So how does that change? If this is the center, 11, -8, then the equation for my circle, I want to replace this h with what? And this k. So I replace those two with 11, and this becomes +8 because it's minus -8. And there's your equation for your circle. Okay, just a moment.